In the past couple of days, Micah Parsons had Trevon Diggs on his podcast on Bleacher Report, and they go into talking about the media. And I think that when you see what Trevon Diggs did after the game, responding to the reporter who seemed to potentially question Diggs' effort on a play, Diggs gets pretty fired up about it. And here, Parsons and Diggs go into their thoughts on the media, and then I want to respond after I share this short clip from Micah Parsons in his Bleacher Report podcast. Here we go.
Do you think there needs to be, because I've been seeing it, man, kind of like media players taking words and kind of spicing them up a little bit. It just seems like it's more almost negativity, and I'm not talking just this particular situation. I'm talking from other media outlets from organization. It almost seems like your media is painting a worse picture than anybody else out there. You know what I'm saying? Because they basically got the up-close look, and they kind of, I kind of seen last night that, some of our media staff was saying this is the worst team chemistry and team morale that they seen since COVID. But how would they know that if they only in a locker room for, an hour throughout the week? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just weird to me that your team's media is like trying to portray an image about you or trying to throw dirt on your name or throw dirt on your team's name. Like, we supposed to be one. We supposed to be together. I know that's journalism and, they got to report what they report, but at the end of the day, you should be trying to protect us, if anything.
Okay, that's the first part where I was like, say what? Because Trevon Diggs says, if anything, the media should be trying to protect us. And I don't think that's necessarily the media's job. And when you look at that specific tweet that Trevon Diggs got really frustrated with, clearly, visibly so, after the game, I think that, you could question whether or not Trevon Diggs was putting in max effort. I think looking back at the play, they brought it up earlier in the podcast, and they were sort of clarifying that, Trevon Diggs was doing the right thing. But I think he was talking about the reporter later in the play where Trevon Diggs is sort of jogging as other guys are trying to tackle. And it looked to me like he was sort of taking the right angle as other players looked like they should have gotten to him first. And it didn't really feel like it was that much on Trevon Diggs, just for me personally. But let's say, for example, a reporter just has a different opinion and thinks, oh, maybe he wasn't putting in max effort on a play. I just think the response of what Trevon Diggs did to come out just fired up, sort of, going at the reporter. And I understand that as a player, you get frustrated, especially after a loss like that. But I just think that, if you are an NFL player, you have to know that there's going to be negativity. There's going to be reporters who, criticize what you're doing, just because, when you're a reporter, your job is to look at what you're seeing and give your thoughts on what you're seeing on the field. And if a reporter sees something, maybe it's not right sometimes, but at the same time, that's going to happen in most games because that's just sort of the nature of the business. And I just think that to allow that to affect you in such a big way, it's something that, it's just, I think it's making it worse for the Cowboys overall, just to have, already having so much media attention, but then to, get so frustrated of something to where you sort of come out right after the game, you clearly check your Twitter. I just think that it's, sort of a situation where you'd rather, if you have a problem with a reporter, be a little bit more dialed down, because I think it created a much more of a spectacle than it necessarily needed to be. And at the same time, I fully understand, players in the NFL, they're humans too. They're going to get frustrated by people criticizing them. And it probably is hard to block out every single thing when you're a player, when your team is struggling, when, things aren't going well. It's probably hard to silence all that noise. But at the same time, I think to say that the media needs to protect you, I just don't necessarily think that's the media's job. So let's finish this here.
Not trying to be buddy with you, smile in your face, trying to talk to you, and talking about you online. Just don't talk to me. We don't got to talk at all. I don't need to do interviews with you. You want to ask me something, we can talk on the podcast, and we could figure it out on our own.
It also sounds there like he's talking about reporters who are maybe nice to him, talking to him nice in the locker room, and then sort of question him when he's playing football. And that's, I think, the tough thing if you're a reporter or, close with players and also having to talk about it is when you start to become, friends with someone, you don't really want to, question how they're playing. Because let's say you had a best friend and they have a bad game. Are you going to go out there and be like, man, that guy stunk that game? If you're the guy's friend, you're going to be like, come on, could you just tone it down a little bit? But that's, I think, the job of these reporters is to ask questions. It is to, look at what they're saying and ask questions about it. And I think that, lots of players in the NFL, they can get impacted by it. I think that when you are an NFL player, you probably have to get to a point where you're able to sort of block out the noise and not allow it to affect you. And it really feels like the Cowboys have, at least in hearing this podcast, that they've greatly been affected by what the media is saying about them. And I just think it's better to tune it out. As I said, I don't think it's necessarily easy, but that's sort of my thoughts. And we're almost finished here.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird to me.
Should we bring one of our media to the podcast?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
We're gonna set something like that up. You know.
Okay, so I just feel like we're in this era of social media where, you know, tons of players have podcasts. I know tons of people question. I've seen comments like, why is Micah Parsons, you know, doing a podcast? Shouldn't he be, you know, studying the film? I don't have a problem with players having podcasts, you know, if it doesn't take away too much time from what you're trying to do, because everyone does have free time and they can spend it how they want to spend it. I do see why, you know, when teams are struggling and then there's guys podcasting, I understand why people will come out and be like, you know, why are you doing this? Shouldn't you, you know, be studying film? But I get players, you know, having an outlet wanting to speak to the media. But it definitely is a completely different time than it used to be. And I feel like we've seen so many players come out being frustrated with the media. And I get it at times, you know, if you're playing poorly and, you know, someone calls it out, it probably doesn't feel great. And in this situation, you know, you can debate whether or not Trevon Diggs was putting in max effort. It seemed to me like it wasn't a problem personally. But again, I just think that when you are an NFL team, an NFL roster, there's going to be criticism from media. I don't think they should expect the media to try to protect them. That's not necessarily the media's job. It's to try to figure out what's going on and why it's all happening. But if you guys want more Dallas Cowboys content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.